We never thought of writing the steps the way you've aligned them. Like on my side,
Yeah.
I did more of like a paragraph, just a
Yes.
paragraph without elaborating more on steps in order to start your own consulting enterprise.
Okay. Okay. Let's hear that. I mean, it's a collective. It's a collective learning, so it's fine. Let's hear you.
Mm. Well, I'm happy to go. But for me, it really was, as I always say to people, start with the end of in mind. What do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
So I'm a coach, I'm a executive coach and life coach. That's what I want. That's my area. Clarity there because there are different requirements. So it determines when I'm going to be talking about continuous improvement and what have you. This clarity on my objective. Where do
Yeah.
I want to go?
Yeah.
Defines my clients, etc. So that's number
So,
one.
so
Clarity.
to a certain extent, it speaks to the point of my competency, because I thought that I will package in there, because you must have a certain insights that you feel you can address, and in your case, this is what I want. So it's about you, right?
Yes, understanding who the client, your client in your head. What's my client's product? What am I providing? I'm
I see.
providing coaching for executives. So
Okay.
very, very clear because that determines something else forward. So that was number one. And then, of course, client and then product service. And then for me, the next one was once I've defined the objectives, I have the how. I put it here as how. And my how was that is talking to the bank manager. That is the funding. That is the fund, the partners, the support.
Yes.
What do I need to get this thing to run? And
Yes.
then critically for me, it's what we call route to market, which is yourselves.
Yes.
What's my route to market? How do I? So this is how do I sell? I sell via LinkedIn. I get into partnerships. I do agreements. I do. As I start, I will create that picture and strive to achieve that. But that route to market for me, probably of all the things, it's I haven't. We tend not to dwell there too much, but that is the most important. It's
Yes.
self, and the route to market determines the type of training you then have around. So you're doing these sales courses, you go and learn how to sell. You go over and over, they sell, and you that's where it is. And then for me, after that, there is a continuous learning that I think he mentioned something like that about continuous learning. You have to move yourself from just a briefcase guy to mastery. But you only do that through continuous development, plus experience. I think Michael was talking about the issue about experience and qualifications. I see
Yeah.
those two existing side by side. The more academically you become clearer, like the meeting that we had with Angelo, it really moved us the gear up. So to
Yeah.
continue to do things like that,
Mm.
and then to build that side of your CV, it's such an important thing. And then clarity on your process.
Mm.
My actual, when I'm saying I'm an executive coach, what does that mean?
Yeah.
If someone walks in and says, I want executive coaching, what are the processes I take him through?
Mm.
I must do this, I must do that, I must do that. Is it a 12-week, 8-week, 5-week, 7-week? But it's so clear that even if I get run over by a car tomorrow and someone walks in, they will say, this is how George coached people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's his clear process. And yeah, that was the, and oh yeah, sorry. The, the what, how do you call continuing getting repeat business? How do you, so you've coached someone, how do you retain them? How do you get them to give you repeat business? And what are the things you do? I can tell you one of the things that I do is to celebrate with them when they achieve their things. Find a way of finding them to celebrate with them, etc. and then you remember their birthdays, that kind of thing, that you will send them notes. If you come up with something, you get a nice quote from somewhere, and you send it to him after a month or two to say, I was reading this and I thought of you. You may want to read. You get nothing out of it, nothing in quotes, but you're creating a hook that the next time he thinks of coaching, there's one door he goes to, and that's you. So that's the continue part.
Yeah. So you retain them.
Yeah, how do you keep this guy looking at Sam instead of tomorrow is Mike, then it's Sekia?
Yeah. We do go through that where you feel like, and that line is trying very hard to kick us out of that house. So we need to do something to stay.
To stay in there, whatever it is, you keep them so that they know you are interested.
Yes. Wow, great stuff. I like the route to the market, which I spoke about business development, but and you are right. We don't spend much time on things that really brings business.
That is the business thing.
Great. Yeah. I guess once our subconscious mind keeps these things, we will remember them at the right time, Mike.
Yes, definitely. We will remember that.
Yeah. So what was your paragraph, Mike?
We want to hear it.
You remember, I'm not a consultant, hey. Therefore, it will have some,
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Let me open it.
You've given us wonderful ideas before today.
Don't be intimidated. It's okay.
Yes, no, I'm not intimidated, eh?
Yeah.
On my paragraph, I started about the concept of contractual. I don't know if I've jumped. I know that the stages won't be the same according to how you start your own organization. I might be starting with something that should be at the end and something that should be in the middle. Therefore, it will have those kind of hiccups in it. So let me read it. I said the concept of contractual plays a vital role when two parties are formalizing the terms of the agreement. Meaning basically whenever you have a client or anything, there must be a contract before anything. Remember, I know in most coaches, you guys talk about a chemistry session. Are you aware that whenever you guys are doing chemistry session, you are actually sharing certain philosophy knowledge for free without being contracted? That's why in most cases, a client after chemistry session, they don't come to you because you give them a solution within that 1 hour of chemistry session.
Wow.
Therefore, I don't know how you guys are going to go about in order to involve contract before chemistry session, rather than give you a chemistry session and provide you knowledge for free and still lose the client.
Yeah. George,
you raise a very good point there, Mike. And here's the kicker. If you're dealing with, say, a mass match, so you have made the contact with Massmat. They have said, right, we've got 5 executives. Sam, you're going to be looking after them. So you signed a contract with Massmat at that stage.
Yes.
But now you want to coach Sesh and the process. Let's have coffee before I even get into it, so I get to understand you. At that stage, you can talk, get to understand here, etc. Then you start your full coaching sessions. But if this is no mass mat, this is my very first time, and the person I want to coach is Sesh, and we are now having a connection meeting. That is the point where it's not an hour. It's a call for 20 minutes, 25 minutes of understanding, verifying her needs, what time she's comfortable to have the meetings. Are you happy in the mornings? Are you in the evenings? What I said, how many children do you have, etc. Understanding more of who she is, and then say, let's go into a formal in session 1. So, but you're doing the same thing, but differently. With the individual, you're not going to open up too much. But I've already signed with Masmat, so I'm going to open up as much as I want with the, so that she goes back to her boss and says, "Ooh, that man who's going to coach me, I had an hour. He seems to know what he's talking about. He gave me references of this and that." Now you're impressing her because you've already signed with Masmat.
Yeah.
You know, I guess Angelo spoke about it. He said your ultimate price will include that. So it is an opportunity cost of getting that business. If you ultimately get it, the pricing that you charge should factor in that chemistry session.
So basically, when we say that the chemistry session is not invoiced, we mean it's not invoiced separately, but it is factored in the price. So if I'm charging for 10 and I'm going to add the 11 fee for chemistry and I add a new sum and divide by 10.
Yeah, because he spoke about that. When you charge, stay away from charging hours. Charge for the delivery. You charge for that service, like I'm giving you this, this is how much it is. Whereas you spend 70% of your time trying to win this business, what you're actually giving them is 30%. So that entire price that you're giving them is 30%. It's 30% of you executing it plus 70% of the sales or of the pre-sale thing.
That's I'm going to change my approach immediately. I hear that. This our nonsense, eh? Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, no, I believe that is also my way forward now. And somebody did tell me the same, and I think Mike, you know the person I'm talking about. He says that no, I have a client and I give them the full price for the 12 sessions, and they can decide whether they pay me upfront or half, but my sessions. And they pay that, and then I'm out of the way, because then I don't have the cost of calling them every month asking for payment of this little piece by bits.
And then you that's when we were talking about the hours. You factor them in and say, this is looking on average at X amount of hours for that duration.
And in actual fact, one particular client said to us, we wanted to invoice it. Why do you invoice me one by one? Invoice me the first 6 months at a go, and then you will invoice me the other 6 months next month. So you can see that they were thinking, oh, no, this guy is going to create too much cost for us or administration. You know, at the end of the day, we are paid more than that. And George, coaching pricing 101.
Can I send my invoice?
No, you must come and run a session for us. You have just made us space.
Just to bring in more to say half from the financial side, which one is more appropriate or is good, to be paid in advance for service that you haven't delivered, or to be paid monthly?
It depends.
No, in advance is the best.
It depends. So you can pay in advance, then you owe, or you can pay on stages of progression, right? You can say, okay, give me 60%. If let's say, especially for small businesses like you guys, my opinion, it would be advisable to bill it on stages than bill it upfront. Then
because
you say,
don't want to have too much liability of having to deliver,
and even cash flow issues, because it's all about cash management. You don't have a separate business responsible for your cash management. So what will be advisable is, like you say, okay, you come at the beginning so that I can factor in the logistics and all those things. Give me 30%. Then halfway through, when we're going there, you give me 50. At the end, I get the other 50. Then it works better. Even for you, you're not cash flow.
I like 30, 50, 20. Yeah, George. 30, 50.
I tell you, the way I normally, I'll tell you, I charge so much. Let's say I tell you, for an executive, I'm charging 25,000 for the 12 sessions. If you pay me upfront, that's my number one priority. Because with us, because we're small and our customers, our clients are small, to chase him every other month for payment, that's when they will say, oh, my mother died this month, my uncle is...
Okay, that's why I'm saying it will be a case-by-case scenario. You know your client. That's one thing that Angelo taught us. Know your client. So if you know you're dealing with Seha,
George, I have a formula. I have a formula here: 30% upfront, 50% midway, 20% at the end.
It was an example.
Yeah.
Okay, with your people, George, they can. That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna meet a client, let's say Michael has a good cash flow. His business is running very well. He's a medium enterprise. You don't need to make him pay you upfront. You can have a different payment system. But if you have Seha that's all over the show, then you say, Seha, so that we don't fight, pay me upfront. Then I'll pay you upfront. Then if you have other ones, then you can say, pay me at the end. Then that way, right, you will have your client portfolio. Because also it might work indirectly. Let's say your work is seasonal, right? If your work is seasonal, you won't find yourself in the trap whereby during a certain part of the year, you have money. Halfway through, you're trying to live off your savings. And the other part, you don't know where you are. But by taking your client profile and packaging them differently so that your cash flow is managed throughout the year, your business is able to be self-sustainable as opposed to feeding off other sorts of funding when you are not on your peak.
Okay. Well, you must run that session with us, Seha, before I even respond. We must go through
I'm not a financial advisor. I will come with that disclaimer.
No, you will. But it's just throwing ideas on the table. Because as I say, I find if there's a distraction, is somewhere halfway, things are hotting up, and client genuinely has had a car accident, and now he can't pay you. And now you are, do I keep with him now? Do I abandon him? Because if you now finish the sessions, now you're finished. And to chase him
or George, they call you and they say that we want to stop the coaching because we have financial crisis.
You have planned for a 12 session, and you've put your processes in place, etc. So my first port of call is
it throws you completely out of balance. And it's not only small business people, it's not only small clients, big companies. And I think we run that risk, and that's for me is a takeaway from this conversation. But actually, at the time when clients are very excited contracting, you need to get at least 50% of your money up front. So that when they decide halfway to say we feel we want to put the coaching on hold because we have financial problem. Because it's not like they don't have money. It's like they're calculating and realizing that it's getting tighter. And you are the first to chop off.
And what are the first things we throw off board when the ship is sinking? It's coaching.
Yeah.
Then what about renegotiation then at that point in time when they say we're putting it on hold, then you say, okay, let's look at the payment terms?
No, you are always going to renegotiate. And I can tell you, coaching is a very emotional thing. You know, we suffer from this. The nature of coaching is that you build connection with your clients. You know, and then we have clients who come on their own. They're not necessarily paid for by their companies. But they need this for the work in the companies. And they said, I will pay for myself. I need this. And halfway things change. And you have that relationship. And that's why I always say that I don't want to be the one calling and asking for money. But when it comes to the cancellation of the coaching program, as a leader of the business, I now have to come in. And oh man, the emotions, it tears you apart because you know the difference that you are making to this person in their work.
Yes. I actually had a case like that where I think it was session 7 or 8. The guy wants to move, and I'm like, and you set goals and you're progressing with this goal, things are looking, and now let's abandon it. Now, professionally, I can't do that. I can't abandon. Now I'm forced to say, let's go through with it. And up to now, he hasn't finished paying.
Yeah.
But I for my part, I'm happy I finished it. I did it out of my way. It's out of my way. My conscience is clear. I did what I needed to do professionally. He hasn't finished paying. But the point is, if I had taken money from him upfront, it's his call to decide not to come. Because the contract says once we've engaged, no funds are repayable to you because this is a package.
Yeah. No, I really, and they told us at our school that one of the biggest downfall for coaching is the weaknesses in the contracting stage. And I'm seeing it now that, we think we are tight on the contracting, but we are not. And Secha, this one I will be prepared to pay for outside your working hours, in your after hours thing, because it is really, really an issue. There's so many loopholes in our contracting, and this is a commercial contract. The purpose of commercial contract is to close loopholes, and it has us materially. Where somebody's contracted for 12 months and then after he say, no, I can't carry on anymore.
Yeah.
You remember, George, the other day I called you so distressed and I said, but
yes,
how do you deal with this? And we have to be protected from our own vulnerabilities because we are in a helping profession. But I wonder, and that's why I say that George, you are a lawyer. I don't agree that the lawyers should be classified as members of a helping profession. Because you call a lawyer who's the watch on. As long as you stay on that phone, it's the county. And then they say they're in the helping profession. These guys have got no emotions. When you finish, the first thing you get is an invoice from the lawyer. And then you look at it, that telephonic conversation we had. My goodness. Can you imagine if we do that with coaching?
Exactly.
Well, I'd like to do, but I think the approach of factor all those things in from start to finish, then create your whatever fee structure around that, and this thing about an hour, and I take it out, do your own estimate. This is what it will cost. Give the guy a global figure, and then go, because the graph of coaching, as you know, it starts with a lot of enthusiasm, but by session 5, he's down.
It's down.
Yeah. And then he picks up again, depending on how well you deal with him. And by the time he finishes on section 12, he's happy again. But it's when he's down here, that's when these issues of money always come in.
Wow. Sure.
Issues of
yeah. So how can you tell us your story?
Okay.
Your A to Z.
My A to Z. I have 8 steps here. So what I learned from Angelo's when I eventually do my consulting is step 1, you need to identify the service you are about to consult about. You need to be clear what that service is. Then number 2, after you identify that, you need to identify how you're gonna spend the 70% of your time winning that business. So I wrote it as step 2, winning business. Step 3 was you need to also have a client selection criteria to ensure that the clients that you are attracting, they have the same value system and ethical standard as you. Because with that, if you have you need to be able from that client do some pre-engagement to understand them. And at that pre-engagement, that's when he spoke about the issue of you can fire the client. Because if during that pre-engagement you see that the client doesn't meet your profile and you're not of the same values, you can just decline the engagement and not continue with it. And also ongoing during the engagement is still part of assessing if you can continue with the client. And also after the engagement, post-engagement, you need to assess how the engagement was. Then step 4, I wrote you need to document a code of ethics for the enterprise and hold your consultants accountable to that code. So that's when he spoke about you can have a code of ethics and all these nice little things of like, these are my values. The question is now, how are you assessing it to make sure that the people are adhering to those your organization values? And if they don't, you have the right to boot them out. 4, it's your pricing story that we talked about intensively. So pricing of the service should be based on the deliverable and not the time spent. That's step 5. So you need to consider using the client existing resources in delivering your service so that you provide more of a value add services than be all over the place. And your price should also factor for your pre-engagement activities, which means getting them enticed and all those stuff. Then step 6, I said you must invest in technology and be abreast of the technological advances. And this is when he was talking about when COVID hit, majority of the consultings were hit with technological challenges. Some couldn't even operate technology. And how do you, and also he was still able to work from home, whereas majority of the consultant could not work at all because all they've also known in their profession was face-to-face consulting, for example. So we need to look at also using technology in our day-to-day consulting. Then step 7, I said hire or be in partnership with individuals that are of the same value standards as you are. Then that way you don't have issues with ethical dilemmas. And then step 8 is about the delivery of the service. Make sure when you deliver that service to the customer, you work with your client as equals. That's my A to Z on consulting.
Work with the client as equals. So if there are some bottlenecks, you call the client for a cup of coffee and you say, man, how do we resolve this one?
Yeah. And you shouldn't always be the one talking to the client. The client should also be able to be free to cross-examine you and yeah.
Okay, that's very good actually. So that's the trust-based, what they always call the trust-based relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm inclined to revise mine, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to list it sort of the benefit of being on this collection. I did say that the step 1 for me is my own competency. Check your own competency. Be sure that you are bringing value to the client. And then step 2, I say that decide on the type of a consultancy you want to run. Is it the process type of consultancy or the expert type of consultancy? Step 3, I said that determine the context within which you are going to be working using his pastel model as shared with us. And then step 4, I said that once you have got that, then you must work around the philosophy of your contracting, to regulate the relationships with the client. And I add here by saying that it needs to be bulletproof. It really needs to close all the loopholes, all the gaps that might be there, especially when it comes to the client wanting to change the contract or maybe seeing the gap to move away from some of the obligations. Step 5 was about the infrastructure that is required, resources, especially the cost structure thereof. And then step 6 was to put together a team of fellow consultants that you will work with. I think, Seha, you mentioned that as your step hire or be in partnership with like-minded individuals. Step 7.
Yeah, 7. Yeah.
So, and then I said, decide whether they're going to be in-house or partners. Basically, the type of relationship you're going to have: subcontractors, associates, or whatever. So whichever way is better for you. Step 7 was the shared services, virtual assistant, or own office, or office of the client. Something that I think is the take home for me as well. If you are retained in this company for the whole year and you are coaching 4 or 5 people, let the sessions happen in the client. Mike, you remember we used to have situations where we met at the hotel lobbies, and every time you pay a parking fee and you pay coffee fee, and it's just costs that are avoidable. If the client has got the facilities, I think that's better. And by the way, also for coaching, hotel lobbies are not really appropriate, not always appropriate. Depends, of course, on the topics and the agenda the client bring in. And then as I said, at 8 is business development, which George calls the route to the market. Am I right? Is that what you're talking about? So how do you really access the market and make them aware of you? And I think we are all weak in this. I mean, we are posting a lot in Facebook and LinkedIn. That is just part of it, but it's not really it per se. Because mining the data and I like what George does. You say that if people like your thing, then you write to them and then you
connect offline. I connect
offline. Start the conversation. And then sometimes I think one must even those people that charge you referral fee, most of them do that. You say, this person is connected with me, talk to them, and I'll give you so much percentage of if they become my client. If you do it yourself, it's become too much straight in the face of the person that is connected with you, and you might lose them. Step 9 was about delivering the product and the solutions, the actual delivery itself, which is number 8. And then 10 was customer relationship management, which in George's case was you need to save them, you need to retain them, remember their birthdays and everything. Yeah. That's a high touch service level, but we are always challenged. But great stuff. I think we raised some valuable insights here. Can I at this point say let's work towards checking out and then finish at 4 exactly? Wow, Secha, man, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. George, we never stop learning. We never stop learning. But the take home for me as part of my checking out, and I've said this before also to Dr. Gule when we're talking about HR, and I say, it looks like the more we talk about our professions, the more really we perfect it. But why do we talk so less? And I will say the same with coaching. We are busy chasing after clients. We want coaching clients, but we don't take a step back and reflect and just talk about our coaches. And I guess as coaches, we have a lot to share, and we are not doing it. I'm thinking, George, of I wouldn't call it for coaches, but I'm thinking of we have this podcast live streaming. It's lesser expensive than video streaming. And I thought, maybe a regular, and you can have everybody logging in from anywhere in the world. There's no limit. Where we just talk, just networking online for 1 hour or 2.
With coaches.
Anybody.
Introduce yourself. What do you do?
We just talk, and it's online. And somebody can be in New York, somebody be in London. I can imagine how much work you can pick up. Somebody, I've got a client in London, and I always wonder if you wouldn't want to take share of that role, and then I can help you here in London.
Yeah, my mind is racing to say, who would you be inviting and what would you be calling? That would be great, because you literally, it's just somebody's welcoming people and just introduce yourself and
talk and then I talk about anything, and then the agenda will just evolve. As people talking about what they do, immediately you will find because sometimes we don't know what we need, or we don't know what we don't have.
Mm.
And we can always learn from each other.
Yeah, I mean, the guy I was talking to from India he started mentioning the current project. He mentioned 3 projects, one in Durban, one in East Africa, and one in somewhere else. He's in India. Why couldn't this client here find us? They found him. What are we doing wrong that people don't think that they are coaches in South Africa?
Yeah.
And it's all about what
something we are not doing, George. And this will always, we will always be not in the front. And I suspect that we are not using technology sufficiently enough. We are not minding our business, and we are all fighting for the crumbs.
Because the lady I spoke to, who I mind, her company is called e-coaching. They introduced the concept of e-coaching ages ago, 2011, I think 2012, before even Corona, and now they're reaping the harvest. But she said something about broadening their coaching network to Africa, to South America, etc. Because in the process, that's how they find work.
They're saying that the problem is once you start putting networking and you start worrying about people taking the work away from you, you are actually your thinking is very limited.
Scarcity.
Because you're thinking that you have something to offer, people are going to steal from you, and then you don't become part of network, or you don't form the network. Meanwhile, maybe you are the one who are supposed to lead the network. They will get what they get, but ultimately everybody will get something. But if we don't do anything, nobody does anything. Now it's a question of who is better network than who.
Yeah, because what Angelo mentioned, it was like, is it plagiarism when is it plagiarism and when is it research? You are scared that I'm taking my information and putting it out there and people are going to benefit for free, whereas they could have benefited more. But by sharing and collaborating with other fellow coaches, their materials, it becomes a much broader research material, and the profession improves, as opposed to you being in your little corner. You will sit there and not actually grow because you're not having that growth mindset. But by collaborating and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, because it's all about to be vulnerable. It's all about vulnerability-based trust as well. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Don't expect anything in return. If you get bent, it's okay. If you don't, much better. Then keep going.
And funny enough, I come across coaches are always looking for other coaches because they've won a big contract somewhere and they don't know where the coaches are. But we are all coaches.
That's the big one. And not only that, by the time you are looking, now you're finding George, but you don't really know George.
Yes.
But you are desperate to fill in numbers so that you win your contract. And now you're getting the type of person who probably you wouldn't have wanted to work with, but you're getting him in now because you're in a hurry to meet. Whereas if you had already established a relationship, make it loose. Make it just loose.
Wow.
I'm actually thinking what you would call it, because I actually like the idea. You know, Proverbs talks about the one who scatters and gives free is the one who gets back. You know, remember it talks. I love Proverbs because I read it every day, and it basically says if you give, you will get in return.
No, you reap what you reap what you sow. You can't just harvest where you didn't play a role. I will call it a virtual networking, because the time is ripe for that. And one of the podcasts that I have got that live streaming capabilities. So you just send them a link, and then anybody that get that link, they actually can participate. They can actually even talk to you via that link. But you can be strategic and invite the particular targeted group. You go to a Facebook group, and you put it in the group. You know that this is a group made up of people who are coaches. We have a group of coaching group on the LinkedIn. I don't know when last did we really actually go and check that group. It's called Mentoring and Coaching. It's got a lot of people that have registered there, but we never get to engage with them.
Yeah,
but you have to be
like
consistent about it as well. You can't do it once in a while. It must be a continuous.
Well, like once a month, it's good enough. Once every 30 days or something, put a schedule. Yeah, because
but there's no agenda. There's no agenda. It's just about. And you don't have a fixed group of people that you talk to, because some people will just not find it interesting. Otherwise, you're going to get involved in the emotional roller coaster of having lost. You started with 50, now you are 10. People don't like me. No. You just wait there. Whoever is available comes in. But anyway,
yes,
that was my checking out. Yeah, that was my checking out. I will revisit this and think about it.
Okay, I like that. No, today was for me, it was very insightful. I really enjoyed it. And perhaps it's would be if we could find an opportunity to do maybe 2 hours or so around our pricing, costing, whatever word you want to use around that, because there's things around that about creating your avatar, your ideal client. Who's your ideal client? Do you know your ideal client? And how are you finding where your ideal client is? So we could have that pricing. We could have someone talk about the avatar side of things, and create because that's our business. Our business is because I said yesterday to my group that I work with, Rainmaker, that the majority of people don't look for the cleverest lawyer, the cleverest doctor, the cleverest coach, the cleverest. They look for someone they can trust.
Yes.
I'll go to this doctor because I trust him. I don't need to know whether he was number one in his class or whatever. And that's the important thing for coaches, to build trust. People don't want to know your certificates. Are you help? Can they feel comfortable with you? Are you giving good service? Are you ethical? You do that well, you will have clients. Anyway, that's my checkout. I'd love to do something.
Yeah, George, if I may ask the last question. Do we know how big the coaching market is? Or sometimes I feel like we are just shooting in the dark. How big is the coaching industry? And I'm not talking about the number of coaches we have.
Let me tell you.
How big is the demand?
Bob Proctor says globally it's close to $5 billion now in value.
Yeah. Is that big or small?
That's huge. That's big. That's big. But I don't know what it is in South Africa. But I would say it's no less than 2 million. Not 2 million. It would be close to probably 100 mil, because a lot of coaching, you must remember, Sam, a lot of the coaching is internal.
Yes.
Companies use their employees but if you were to put a value on that, and then you take coaching from the right, as Angelo said, to the left, right to the right, and you mix it all there it's a big business. It's just that it's got different names.
Yeah.
Because when they say coaching, say in the States, mentoring is part of the coaching business.
Yes.
Yeah. Training is part of the coaching business. So this is a big industry. I wonder how we could find out.
It has also been slacked down by lack of technology platforms. That I see it, so the delivery now needs to be on their platform. And there are guys who are struggling to get into that. I mean, the problem is that the guys who are developing these platforms, they are not coaches themselves.
Yeah, they're looking for some money, which is good.
Yeah,
They're creative and they can help. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Your last remarks, Sekha and Mike.
Yeah. So my takeaway from today, it's more George's statement that, you know what, you need to just, the reason for Lekgotla and all those things, it's all about learning. It's not about being a master, like you say, being the smartest. And even if you know the concept, you need to just learn something new every day. And
Yes.
today we did learn something new. You'll never know everything. Some things you maybe have been taught and forgotten about them. And as you engage more with people, they come back and they now start being part of the values, like we're speaking pricing and all those things. You are aware of them, but at some point somehow that information gets lost. But as you speak to people, then you remember to reintegrate or include certain aspects of those learning in your day-to-day life. So that's my takeaway. Then the other thing is not, it's not about how long you've been in the profession, it's about how long you've served in the profession. It's not the years, George. Yeah, it's
Sorry,
not
there's a
about,
helicopter making noise, so I'm missing a little bit. But
yeah, so it's not, when I say how long, they might think, okay, so are you taking the same thing? It's, you can be 10 years as an accountant in my situation, but that 10 years might not be reflective of the value add. But
okay.
with 10 years of having added value and served the profession and served it very well at the right ethical standard, it's more what you should aim to chase rather than just that number. Yeah.
Great. You can mute, George. Yeah, it looks like
Sorry.
it looks like Lanceria is very busy at the moment.
Yeah. I think my takeaway for today, in most cases, it goes back to the attitude, people, how they relate to one another. I mean, you can create a whole event and say all the coaches that are residing in South Africa can meet, to engage in terms of the kind of engagements they get to interact on and the kind of solution they can find. We found out 100 clients or yeah, coachee around the South African region have the same problem, and there is only one coach based in Limpopo who managed to solve it with his or her coachee in Limpopo. Therefore, can come with certain concepts to help you guys to solve it. But then, because you guys, I don't know, don't engage to one another, nor attend event to one another and network. Now, if you know that you have a certain problem regarding consulting or anything, you can quickly Angelo left these numbers. You can quickly give him a call or send him an email, and maybe could give you a certain short paragraph explaining the detail that you want or explaining the solution based on your problem. But because we kind of, I could say we are not networking enough. We are not networking enough in order to know more and know a lot of people. Now, if I think it was George who mentioned that if they say there is a certain assignment, they say they request 100 coaches, you're gonna quickly run to LinkedIn. And remember, some coaches they don't have expertise to deliver, nor their experience and yeah, I will mention experience and they can't deliver in terms of executive coaching. But because you saw the LinkedIn, you just have to rush and meet the deadline. And now, in a subtitle manner, you lose that line in a long period. Says you provide a certain coaches that don't know what they're doing. Therefore, it's good to message of the day. It's good to network. I could leave it that way. Networking and also marketing and doing promotionals will help you.
And somebody must start it. It won't start on its own.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Somebody must start, and whenever that person have created such concept, we need to follow in order in a form of supporting, because you can't be a coach and isolate yourself unless you have a certain tasks and assignments that you get towards the pockets that nobody can see on the visible space. But to cut the story short is the importance of networking and associating yourself with people who are on the same level and same mission as you. You'll never know how or when you're gonna need them to progress on your business or on yourself. You can be a coach and end up having a certain enterprise that hires a lot of coaches. But because based on not knowing who to hire, where to go, it means you're just gonna bring wrong people to your organization to destroy it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I like this because we have been challenged. Sometimes I used to say I'm being challenged, but when you are really truly challenged, you feel it. I feel challenged, George.
Well, definite challenge there, because these big organizations like United Nations and all, they will use American coaches to send to India, Africa,
Yes, yes.
because we are not visible.
Yeah, but it's also a competition. I mean, why would they use you if they have their own that are good? So if we are good, then they will consider.
Good, and they know us. That's the key. They got to know us.
Yes.
So what are you doing to put yourself out there so that people know that there's Sam?
And then I'm also saying that if there's a coaches that work with Coca-Cola in Atlanta, and they have a relationship with us here, and Coca-Cola Global decides that coaching is their leadership development intervention everywhere in the world, and they've contracted this coaching company there in America. And this coaching company doesn't have to get people coached by foreign, because one thing that was discussed in our coaching 101 recent one was what they call it country context. They said that people cannot take it away from you. You have the context of the country, and if you have the global standards, you will be considered, but you might have to be brought in by another coach that is contracted at the headquarters.
Because you have the local content.
Yes, because you have the local content. So you shouldn't be fighting to become the primary coach contracting company for Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola has got a centralized procurement for coaching in Atlanta. So you are not going to get into Coca-Cola here and get the job. You must find the the coaches that are contracted by Coca-Cola in Atlanta and be partnership with them, and then represent them here as your associate.
And then grow your footprint to such
then
an
you grow
extent
your
that
footprint.
people want to call you directly.
Yeah, yeah. They might say, okay, with decentralized, Coca-Cola Africa must now hire their own coaches. We've seen their coaches in Africa. Then you come in. It's a long-term thing. It's not something we can just, what I'm taking home from here is we need to work more harder than we ever thought. Because we are not saving our businesses. We are just doing a little bit here and there. And right now we have this demand for mentors and coaches for incubator. And I think we have started doing that because you need to add more value than you are hired for until you are so located inside that organization that they don't think of you but anybody else. And I can tell you, sometimes you feel that you are stretched. You can tell that you know people, but really you're scratching. You are not really.
We haven't even begun. That I accept.
Yeah. And that is going to be, that makes you very weak in defending the accounts that you have. You can easily be replaced because somebody will just come out of the woods and offer them something that you never even thought it exists because you're not networking.
Yeah. So we need initiatives that expose us a lot more.
Actually, the text you referred to us from the Bible, Proverbs Is it 8?
Proverbs 8.
I've got the leadership Bible where there is. I'm amazed that they're quoting this famous Harvard guy. You know, I don't know whether you've seen this type of a Bible where they comment in terms of relevance to the current situation. They're quoting Chris Aguirre's, the famous guy of the double loop learning.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read it, it's exactly what we are trying to do now. We are going the double loop learning. In other words, you don't solve the symptoms of the problem. You go deeper into the root causes of the problem. And that is when the real learning happens. When an organization are stuck, they are stuck because they are not actually learning from their problems. They are just removing their problem, but they're not learning. So the double loop learning is to say exactly what we are discussing. But now, somebody's going to have to start. It might be us. But we will lose in the process because other people will come and capitalize on that. But long term, we will benefit. That's the double loop learning. Because if you don't do that, then you don't solve the problem. It just perpetuates itself.
Yeah, because I'm quite inspired, but it's like, what do? We need to move with something.
No. I think for me the way forward is we need to that network. We need to serve our industry, and I will talk to you. I'll think of something.
And just keep it short and see how it will work.
Yeah, it's just a question of inviting people and put the link on a particular social media group, and then the people who are in that group, they will be the first to join. Because if it's about coaching, then the coaches will find it appealing. So that's why, to a certain extent, it can't just be networking. It needs to be specific because I'm just looking at the group here, my groups. But anyway, let's bring it to closure and then we can take the discussion forward.
Okay. Thank you very much, folks. It's been great.
Thank you so much. It has been wonderful, very intense, and you can feel that we have reached the climax. We are not freezing. We are not freezing, but we are going to reflect over a cup of coffee. Something will come out of it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, folks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Angelo taught us.
Bye.